Welcome back, and moving to the energy sector now. It's a very, very complicated area, and there are some movements on the policy front. Interesting, those comments yesterday from Energy Minister Angus Taylor, the minister obsessed with down prices for all of us. Well, to refresh your memory, the minister spoke yesterday at the AFR Energy Summit in Sydney. Now, he was calling for a mechanism dealing with energy reliability to be agreed by all the states and Labor. So does that mean the National Energy Guarantee is still knocking around? Well, interestingly, today we also heard from business that there might be some sort of group coming together. It was a leak, actually, some sort of group coming together to agree maybe a target on the emissions side. It's all very interesting and rather unclear. For more, I caught up with the Energy Minister at the sidelines of today's Outlook conference in Melbourne. Angus Taylor, you are the Minister for down electricity prices, but you announced this week that reliability was also on your radar. Can you colour that a little for us?
Well, our focus is on getting electricity prices down, but also while we keep the lights on. What we're seeing right now, Ticky, is a big investment in intermittent generation. This is typically solar and wind, and that needs to be reliable. So we need a mechanism in the electricity market to ensure that intermittent generation is firmed up, it's made reliable and secure so that consumers, whether you're an aluminium smelter or a household, can know that they can keep the lights on, keep the machine going, and this reliability guarantee will put an obligation on retailers to make sure they've got enough capacity to meet the needs of their customers well ahead of time, years ahead of time. This is a crucial initiative. We need the states to sign up to it, and we'll be asking them to sign up to this on the 26th of October.
Are you actually going to go into the market and support some of these, this firming up of renewable energy as suggested by the ACCC?
Yeah, so the ACCC did make a recommendation that there needed to be more competition and supply in the market. That was more focused on price than reliability, but can do both. And there's no question that we need to back investment in reliable generation in the system. The real risk we've got coming at us very quickly now with the withdrawal of some of the coal-fired power stations like Northern in South Australia and Hazelwood in Victoria is we don't have enough firm, secure, reliable, fair income generation that can actually keep the lights on.
And I was really surprised to see this week that even for some of the mine operating lives of existing coal and gas, that there's so much renewable energy now coming into the market that there's actually a hollowing out potentially of their models and business models, and you might find some of these coal power stations shutting earlier.
Well, so the great challenge if you're a thermal generator, there's a traditionally coal-fired power station or even gas, is that if you have all these intermittent generators coming in, you've got to flex up and down all the time. Your utilisation of your generator can drop and your economics fall away. And that's what we saw with Hazelwood, and we've seen it with Northern, and we're starting to see it with others. So there's real risks here. This reliability guarantee ensures that we're keeping that reliable baseload, dispatchable generation which is there when you need it, keeps it in the system, and that's absolutely crucial at this point.
Will that also sort out security? Because we've got the chair of the Energy Security Board, Kerry Schott, talking about anarchy out there in the marketplace. You've got this rise in renewable energy, as I say, you know, potentially hollowing out your dispatchables.
Well, she was referring the same thing as me, which is a lot of these intermittent generators coming into the system and the need to make sure that we maintain the security and reliability. And that's absolutely what we've got to do. And it's not just for households, this is also for keeping jobs in Australia. So many of our industries require, whether you're in cement or aluminium smelting or in light manufacturing they use lots of energy. Panel beaters use lots of energy.
And you're expecting this reliability mechanism to be proved of by the states, all the states, and federal Labor? I mean, I ask this because if you tried to negotiate just the reliability side of the neg a little while ago, you wouldn't have got the deal, would you?
Well, Labor is showing indications that they support this. We don't need their support because it's not going through the federal parliament. We do need state government support.
Including a state like South Australia?
That's right, but it's a very brave state government that signals to their voters that they don't care about reliability, particularly in states where there have been or there are forecast to be challenges with keeping the lights on. We know, the operators told us, that this summer in Victoria we've got a 1 in 3 chance or more of blackouts because of the loss of Hazelwood, the loss of that base load generation. And so I would say it's a very brave state government that says they're not going to support the reliability guarantee.
The other challenge the system is facing is that everybody seems to be going off-grid. Now, Audrey Zimmerman at IEMO talked about 6 solar panels going in per minute at the moment. Would you be looking at removing some of the subsidies put in those panels, as recommended by the ACCC, faster than is happening at the moment?
Well, all the renewable energy subsidies will phase down over the coming years. That's how they're designed, and the reason for that is they're becoming competitive in their own right.
Should it be faster, though?
Well, the large-scale subsidies will peak in 2020. The scheme lasts until 2030, but the economic impact will fade very quickly after 2020. And smaller scale, again, is phasing down from now. We're already in that process. And look, there's a good reason for a transition from subsidies to moving to a free market, if you like, because they are becoming more competitive, Ticky. And look, our challenge now is not the amount of the need to get more renewables in the system. The challenge is to manage that intermittency and keep the lights on and keep the system affordable while that's happening.
And what about fairness? Because I think we're also realising that for those who've put their solar panels in, presumably they can afford to do so, they're actually saving, what, $350 or so a year on electricity savings compared to those who haven't.
And look, you know, there's all sorts of reasons why people have put solar panels on their roofs. The point is we've got to make the system work while that's happening.
But what do you think of what the Victorian government is doing by spending, what, $1.2 billion, I think it is, by buying solar panels, you know, funded by the taxpayer to level the affordability issue? Won't that, though, skew the system as well?
Well, if you're a state government and you're encouraging intermittency into the system, this is generation that doesn't necessarily come on when you want it. It comes on when the sun shines or the wind blows. And you're not prepared to spend money on firming it up, on making it reliable or secure, then you have created a problem. Now, there's a way through this. Sign up to the reliability guarantee. And that's what we expect all state governments to do on the 26th of October. It would be grossly irresponsible for a state government not to do that.
Well, let's get to pricing. I know you talk a lot about pricing. The government is putting in a reference price for customers. Now, my question is that if the prices actually don't continue to come down, or if you don't see better behaviour from the energy companies, what are the chances of that reference price turning into a cap?
Well, Ticky, we're already seeing the beginnings of price reductions. We saw on the 1st of July the price changes made in a number of states were reductions. We need to see more. We're seeing some pretty ferocious competition right now for customers who are on standing offers. That's offers where they haven't negotiated a better price. And I encourage every electricity user listening to this, watching this, to your electricity provider, if you haven't already done it, and ask them for a better price. And the chances are, if you're on a standing offer, you will get a significantly better price. We're seeing ferocious...
But you won't rule out a cap.
Well, we need to see those prices come down. I'm confident the electricity retailers are working in the right direction, that we are seeing real competition starting to work. We're going to encourage that through this benchmark and the default price that we're setting up. But we do need to see a reduction in prices, and I look forward to that happening.
What do you think of the talks? They're rather vague at the moment this week. The idea of business coming together and addressing the emissions side of the NEG. In other words, perhaps agreeing some sort of target in order to help investment certainty.
Well, they're unsourced reports, Ticky, and so I haven't seen any detail on any of this. But what I would say is we're going to reach our 26% emissions reduction target in the electricity market. We're going to achieve it in the early 2020s.
But you don't think that impacts investment certainty? Well,
if you're going to achieve it, it shouldn't impact anything. You're going to achieve it anyway. And that's my simple point. We're going to get there. If Labor wants to increase the target, as they do, up to a 50% renewable energy target and a 45% emissions reduction target, then that will have a very big impact. And business should be very concerned, and business should try to stop that from happening. And I know there are many in the business community that think that would be an extraordinary impost. It would be a wrecking ball in the economy, and I agree with them.
Finally, it appears from your talks this week that you're sliding the rule again over Snowy 2.0. Now, this was a pet project of Malcolm Turnbull as Prime Minister. I mean, you yourself have family connections with Snowy. What are the chances that Snowy 2.0 won't actually go ahead at all?
Well, the Snowy is a great renewables project, the greatest in Australian history. It has a wonderful history. It has made a major contribution, not just to our electricity grid, but to this nation. Now, Snowy 2.0 needs to stack up, and the former Prime Minister and the current Prime Minister both shared the view that it needs to stack up. We do need more storage and more ability to firm up the intermittency in the system, which hydro is very good at doing.
But the private sector may be able to do it easier.
It's got to stack up. And look, all investments from government must stack up. I think that's a very simple rule, which this government has been very disciplined about applying across the board, and will certainly apply it in any part of the electricity market.
Angus Taylor, so much going on in energy this week. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of it with us.
Thanks, Ticky.
Coming up, a little more on energy from the Australian Outlook Conference.